There we go, that should be a bit better. Alright, let's see if I can't find the stream. It shouldn't be too far away. Ooh. Something that the PS5 does substantially better compared to the PS4 is loading up streams onto the channel. It is way faster. Yep, audio is working as it should, the stream's up, the chat's up, we're all good to go. That's absolutely fantastic. Hello everyone and welcome to round 6 of the America's Tier 1 Championship here on Race Spec Esports. I'm Lane Everingham, your commentator for this event, and tonight we'll be racing at Bahrain International Circuit for the Bahrain Grand Prix. Constructed in 2004 and designed by track-making supremo Herman Tilke, this 3.36 mile, 15-turn racetrack has gained a reputation of being one of the best circuits for side-by-side racing on the Formula 1 calendar. Reason being, it has 3 DRS zones that lead into the prime overtaking spots of Turn 1, Turn 4 and Turn 11, with other overtaking opportunities at the hairpin of Turn 8 and that penultimate corner of Turn 14. Outside of these areas, the drivers will have to deal with the terribly tricky traction zone through Turns 2 and 3, as well as the equally tricky braking zone through Turns 9 and 10. The high-speed S's of Turns 5, 6 and 7, as well as the high-speed left-hander of Turn 11 and the right-hander of Turn 12 will be major hotspots for accidents and spins during both qualifying and in the race. Now, before we fully focus on qualifying, a couple of things I need to do. Need to change that to miles an hour. I forgot to do that pre-stream. That's okay, it doesn't take much to change it. And I also need to go through a little bit of news from last week's race in Hungary. Only one incident report which involved Liquito and KD 1997, and we picked it up during qualifying where KD was impeded on his final flying lap. Now I made the false assumption that Liquito was on a out lap and refused to get out of the way. As it turned out, he was actually on a flying lap. He improved on his previous lap time by over 3 seconds. So the lap was genuine. He had every reason to stay in front and not give way to traffic. So as a result, there was no further action from the stewards. There were no penalties dished out whatsoever. There were also no time penalties being dished out by the stewards for the race, which means the final finishing positions remain unchanged. In the Drivers' Championship, Mighty Wombat is leading the way on 99 points, followed by RF1 Tom on 96. Saucy is P3 for Aston Martin on 95 points, followed by VSR Jack on 93. Rounding out the top 5 is Blockman driving for Alpine. He's on 89 points. So the top 5 are separated by 10 points after 5 rounds. Quite remarkable. Outside of the top 5, we have KD in 6th on 72 points, followed by Rebellion on 65, Mr. Nas on 48, Sub for Lime on 44, and Youngling rounds out the top 10 on 35 points. In the Constructors, Mercedes AMG are leading on 171, followed by Alpine on 154, then McLaren on 140. 31 points separating the top 3 teams in the Constructors, and it's a solid 38 points back to Aston Martin on 102. Rounding out the top 5 is Williams on 99. P6, we have Red Bull Racing on 82, followed by Ferrari on 40, Haas on 19, AlphaTauri on 18, and Alfa Romeo completes the Constructors table on 15 points. But that's pretty much it in terms of the news. We can now focus on this qualifying session as the Harmesis begins his flying lap attempt. He's heading around turn 4 up towards the first sector split now, towards the notorious S's of turns 5, 6 and the left-hander of turn 7. Those curbs can be quite nasty. The drivers have to be very careful as they traverse those curbs during both qualifying and in the race. Out of turn 8, over the crest, and into the double left-handers of turns 9 and 10. And as Fernando Alonso demonstrated in the real-life Grand Prix we had last weekend, you can pass there. You need to line it up pretty well, but you can pass there. Down the back straightaway into turn 11, one of the potential overtaking spots on the racetrack, and heading up the hill now towards turn 12. Flat out round the right-hander. Bit of a lift there, though, from the Harmesis. It's a safety lift. It's quite quite a nice thing to do, especially if you're not too confident with the car just yet. You can go around the corner flat out, but if you get it wrong, well, you can spin and potentially end up in the barrier. Around the final two corners of turns 14 and 15, the Harmesis will end his first flying lap, and he'll set the benchmark as well. 1 minute 30.189 is his lap time. Little Mick coming towards the end of a flying lap. There's a couple of cars in front of him. One of them is Sergeant Bill, who jumps to the top. Then Rocket LMR, who does a 29.9. Little Mick goes fourth fastest with a 30.3. Rebellion jumps up to pole position with a 28.9. Mr. Nas, Rocket's teammate, he's making his way around the final two corners. A Sub for Lime jumps up to P4 with a 1 minute 30.176. Mr. Nas here will cross the line to set a 29.796. He goes second quickest, just in front of his teammate. Mighty Wombat is making his way out of turn 13 and down towards the final two corners of 14 and 15. KD also making his way down the main straightaway, crossing the line, jumps up to provisional pole with a 28.725, beating Saucy by just under 0.2 of a second. His teammate Mighty Wombat jumps up to P4. He is 0.5 of a second behind Rebellion in P3. Professor Phil making his way around the final two corners and back on to the main straightaway. He'll complete his first flying lap attempt and will set a 1 minute 30.304, goes 10th quickest overall. Villeneuve on an outlap, he's getting himself ready. The other three drivers, Youngling, Sparty, Take It Easy, they're all in the pit lane waiting. So everyone out on track, they're either on in-laps or on out-laps. So we have to wait a little while until everyone can get themselves set for another flying lap run. But at the moment it's been pretty tight. We got 4 cars in the 28s, and then it's a fairly decent sized gap between Mighty Wombat and Mr. Nas. I've just noticed that. The gap is over 0.8 of a second. That's quite huge, especially for a track like this. Bahrain is certainly one of the more well-used racetracks in online league racing, so everybody knows how to negotiate this circuit. Everyone knows about its pitfalls, about the hazards around the circuit, and generally speaking, Bahrain is quite competitive in both qualifying and in the race. So to see that gap is a bit alarming between P4 and 5. Hopefully, when a few more drivers set their lap times, that gap will begin to shrink. Villeneuve was making his way out to the final corner and down the main straightaway. Going to ride on board with the Aston Martin driver and give you a tour of this 3.36 mile racetrack. Down towards turn 1, entry speed 211 miles an hour. Down to third gear for turn 1. Back on the accelerator, nice and gentle, as he heads through turn 2, through the tricky traction zone, through turn 3. Down this long straightaway towards the second best overtaking spot on the circuit, turn 4. Down to fourth gear, down to third in fact. He makes his way out to the right-hander, up towards the first sector split, through turn 5, through turn 6, into the left-hander at turn 7, and down the hill into the hairpin of turn 8. Definitely a potential overtaking spot through this right-hand hairpin. Bit of a moment there on the exit, but Villeneuve keeps it straight as he heads into the tricky turns 9 and 10. Down to second gear, clipping the apex. Being nice and gentle on the accelerator as he heads down the back straightaway towards turn 11, probably the third best overtaking spot on the racetrack. On the brakes just before the 50 board, down to 5th, down to 4th gear. Gets a tidy exit, not trying to use any of the curb through this section. If you do use a curb, you can unsettle the car. It's alright to use a curb on the outside of turn 12 there though. Out to turn 13, and now makes his way down the long straightaway towards the final 2 corners on the racetrack. Turns 14 and 15. Hard on the brakes, down to 4th gear. Goes through turn 14 and around the little right-hand kink of 15. Up towards the line now for Villeneuve. It's a 1 minute 30.498. 12th fastest out of the time set. Take it easy. He's about to begin his flying lap attempt. Just under 10 minutes left in qualifying. He'll open DRS and head down the main straightaway towards turn 1. And I don't think he's on a proper flying lap. He hasn't got the battery switched on, so what he might be trying to do is try and save... rather, he's trying to dump fuel while he's out on track try and get the car as light as possible for his proper flying lap attempt. Rocket LMR getting out of the way of Mr. Nars, who is getting ready. Professor Phil making his way out to turn 4. Has just completed a flying lap. Currently P7 with a 30.1. Sergeant Bill begins a flying lap down towards turn 1. Down to 3rd. Short shifts up to 4th. Something I've noticed in the Elite Series and in Pacific Tier 1 is that there really isn't a need to use any gear below 4. There's no need to use gears 1, 2 and 3. Just keep it in 4th gear. That's the lowest gear you need to use around this circuit. See it with the top split drivers in Elite and Tier 1. You don't see that though all too often. He's put it into the gravel trap and look, he's beached. And reset. Ooh, yeah, that's probably going to be a penalty, and outspins. I think that would be Mr. Nars. Yeah, it is. Yeah, Nars won't be all too impressed about that, I'm sure. Seeing that Alfa Romeo just pop back out onto the racing line. So this flying lap attempt for the Red Bull driver is all done. Rebellion, meanwhile, making his way up towards the first sector split. Clock says he's up by 42 thousandths of a second. Saucy, meanwhile, is making his way through the middle sector up towards the left-handers of 9 and 10. Brings it down to 4th gear. There you go. There's a nice demonstration of what you need to do here at Bahrain. There is zero need to use gears 1, 2 and 3 around the racetrack. Just the lowest you go is 4th. 5th gear through turn 11. Heading up the hill towards turn 12. There's Mr. Nars, I believe. He'll be on an in-lap now. He'll go back into the pits and put on another set of tyres. As Saucy is up by just over 0.3 of a second. With that sort of improvement, he will definitely challenge KD for pole position. Meanwhile, KD, it looks like he's bailed on this lap. He's not on a proper flying lap. Saucy makes his way out of the final corner and down the main straightaway. To complete his flying lap, he'll set a 28.435. He takes pole position away from KD. Rebellion, meanwhile, will cross the line. He'll jump up to the front row. A 1 minute 28.695. KD looks like he's going to get himself ready for a run here. His teammate, meanwhile, is on a run up towards the first sector split. For our current championship leader, Mighty Wombat is down to the first sector, but not by much, by 18 thousandths of a second. Around the hairpin at turn 8, heading up the hill now towards turns 9 and 10. It's a tricky braking zone here, especially for these guys. It's a no assist tier, so it's really easy to lock up through the section, but Wombat deals with it well. KD, meanwhile, heading up towards the first sector split. Brakes hard for turn 4, down to 4th gear, back on the accelerator on the exit. It's a tidy exit, doesn't bother to use any of the outside curb, and he's up by, he's found some time in the first sector, about 1 3/4 of a second. That's a hell of an improvement. Meanwhile, his teammate is up by just over 3.5 to the middle sector. With that sort of improvement, he'll jump up to the front row. Might be able to take pole position away from Saucy. Let's find out what he can do. He makes his way out of the final 2 corners, heads down the main straightaway with DRS open. He'll set a 28.560. He jumps up to the front row, but doesn't take pole away from Saucy. Out of turn 12 now, up towards the middle sector split. KD has lost time to the middle sector. Needs to put together a pretty tidy final sector if he wants to take pole position away from Saucy. Current PB is a 28.725. Needs to beat a 28.435. Needs to find just under 0.3 of a second here. Opens DRS, crosses the line. He almost finds that time. He jumps up to P2. 1 minute 28.527. He beats his teammate, but not by much. Only 33 thousandths of a second, separating P1 and 3. Mr. Nars on a outlap. He'll be hoping to not get impeded again on his flying lap attempt. Currently P8 with a 29.796. And look at his teammate. Only 2 thousandths of a second in front of him. This is something I've seen between the Red Bull duo over the course of the season. LMR and Nars are very close in terms of pace. They're always next to each other, or at least near each other in terms of the times. And during the race as well. They're very close to one another. Quite fascinating to see these two drivers just be so even in terms of pace. And they're in the same car as well. Down the main straightaway, he has DRS open. He heads down towards turn 1. What kind of entry speed will we see here from the Red Bull? 203, 204, 205 miles an hour. So he's carrying a bit of extra weight compared to some of the other drivers I've seen entering turn 1. Seen speeds of up and over 210 miles an hour. Mr. Nars barely reached 205. Down towards turn 4, 8th gear. He will get on the brakes, bring it down to 3rd gear. Short shifts up to 4th on the exit. Oh, but gets too eager with the accelerator. He spins 180 degrees. He'll then spin the car back 180 degrees, or rather drive the car back. Doesn't bother flick spinning it, but yeah, I'm sure Mr. Nars would be quite frustrated if he wasn't frustrated already with what happened earlier in qualifying. He'd definitely be frustrated now. His teammate is on an outlap. He's getting himself ready for a run, getting his tyres warm. John, meanwhile, is making his way through the first sector. Currently P12 with a 30.4. He makes his way up towards turn 4. Down to 4th gear through turn 4. Gets back on the accelerator. Gets a tidy exit. Not using any of the outside curb. And he's up by a fair chunk as well. Up by 0.3 of a second to the first sector. Around the hairpin at turn 8. Down to 3rd gear. Back on the accelerator. No major wiggling from John's Haas. He keeps it nice and straight as he heads around turns 9 and 10. Tidy exit there, no wheel spin, no obvious amounts of oversteer. Heading down the back straightaway towards turn 11. Down to 4th gear, back on the accelerator. Tidy exit through 11, heads through turn 12, up the hill towards 13. John improves by almost 0.7 of a second to the middle sector. This is looking like a pretty tidy lap. 2 corners remain though, and he needs to get both corners pretty spot on. Gets on the brakes down to 3rd gear. Does he short shift? Sergeant Bill retires from the session. Seems that he's crashed out at the exit of turn 10. John C will complete this lap and jump up to P6, just behind his teammate. What an effort. 1 minute 29.645. Sergeant Bill. Oh no, he's retired voluntarily. I'm not totally sure why he's done that. Interesting. No, he hasn't crashed. He's voluntarily retired. Rebellion down towards turn 1. Have 1 minute and 40 left in qualifying. And both Mercedes leaving the pit lane now. They're going to be tight with time. They should make it, but it's going to be tight. Up towards turn 4 goes Rebellion. Currently P4 with a 28.6. Tidy exit out of 4, short shifting up to 5th gear. Up towards the first sector split, Rebellion improves by 84 thousandths of a second. Around turn 7, the left-hander, down the hill to the right-hander of turn 9. Brings you down to 4th gear, clips the apex, gets back on the accelerator. Lovely run through the hairpin there. Now around the double left of 9 and 10, down to 7th gear, down to 3rd, short shifts up to 4th. I think he missed the apex there by just a little bit. It wasn't the best run through that hairpin. Now he heads up towards turn 11, chucks it into the left-hander. Short shifts up to 5th gear. Car, just enough rotation and just enough stability to get through that corner completely unscathed. But he is down to the middle sector, down by 1/10.5. Saucy, meanwhile, is up by a little under 1/10.5 to the first sector, making his way through the middle. Whoa! That was insane. Sparty spinning out at the exit of turn 10. That was weird. Around turn 12, up towards the middle sector split. Saucy is up by just under 0.3 of a second. But he gets a poor exit out of 13. Spins it into the barrier. He understeered past the apex at 13. He went wide. Used too much of the curb, used too much of the accelerator, and he's ruined his final flying lap attempt. He will not improve on his 28.4. That is the benchmark to beat. KD making his way up the hill towards turn 4. Shifted up into 8th gear, entry speed 191 miles an hour. Down to 73 at the apex at turn 4. Bit sideways on the exit, but he caught the slide well as Professor Phil goes 6th fastest. He's beaten by Subfalime, and KD is down massively to the first sector. He mustn't have had a very good turns 1, 2 and 3. His teammate, meanwhile, he looks pretty solid to the first sector. He improves by just under 0.2 as he makes his way around the hairpin at turn 8. KD, meanwhile, out of turn 10, making his way down the back straightaway towards turn 11. Rebellion pulling it out of the way, making sure he doesn't impede the two Mercedes drivers. Up towards turn 11 goes Mighty Wombat. If he can string this lap together, he can beat Saucy and take pole position. KD is still down by 2.5 tenths. Can he string this final sector together? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what the time looks like. We'll keep an eye on Wombat though. I don't think KD will be able to challenge for pole unless it's a magical final sector. Up towards the line for KD 1997. Will he improve? It's a 28.7. No, he does not improve. Meanwhile, Mighty Wombat, his teammate, makes his way down the main straightaway up towards the line and takes pole position by 32 thousandths of a second to Saucy. Saucy, I'd imagine, will be a bit gutted about that. He was going to improve considerably on his flying lap, but he threw it away at turn 13. At the end of qualifying here at Bahrain International Circuit, it's Mighty Wombat who will start from pole position with a 1 minute 28.402. Saucy will start alongside on the front row for Aston Martin, with Wombat's teammate KD starting third. Fourth place will be Rebellion for Alpine, followed by Youngling in fifth. Sub4Line P6, then Professor Phil, Rocket LMR and Little Mick, and then John will round out the top 10. Harmesis will start P11, followed by Mr. Nars, Sergeant Bell, Take It Easy, Villeneuve. Insane Sparty will start from the very back of the grid, unable to put down a competitive lap time. We'll have a lot of work to do from the very back of the field. Alrighty, race time. Or rather formation lap time here at Bahrain. Now, races past here at Bahrain, I've seen a lot of people start on the hard compound tyre, but as America's Series have proven in the previous rounds that we've had in the championship, America's Series doesn't always follow what Pacific Elite and Pacific Tier 1 do in terms of strategy. So I'm suspecting fair few drivers are actually going to start on the medium compound tyre for this Bahrain Grand Prix. We'll wait and see, of course, but yeah, that always tends to be the case with Americas. See a lot of drivers try and go aggressive early on. Start on the mediums. Still can't get over the opposing crew members sitting in their pit stalls or standing in their pit stalls. To think that we've been through this game for what, 8 months, something like that, and yeah, with every update there's a new glitch. There always seems to be a new glitch, so. And it's not a game breaking by any means, but it's just sort of, it reflects what Codemasters have been like for the past few years. They add in good things, but in amongst all of that, it's just all these bugs that make the game completely unenjoyable. And really wasn't enjoyable last night in Pacific Tier 1. That was actually one of the worst races I commentated. Alright, let's see who's starting on what tyre for this Bahrain Grand Prix. Well, it's not as convincing as I thought it was going to be, but we do have a plethora of drivers starting on the mediums. So we'll run through the order nice and quickly. We have Mighty Wombat starting on the hard tyre from pole position. Saucy starting P2 on the mediums. KD in third on the hard tyre. Rebellion P4 starting on the hard tyre as well. Same with Youngling in P5. Sub4Line P6 is starting on the mediums. Professor Phil is doing the same in 7th. Rocket LMR starts P8 on the hard tyre. Little Mick and John C, the two Haasers, starting 9th and 10th. They're both on the hard tyre. The Harmesis will start P11 on the mediums. Mr. Nars P12 on the hard tyre. Sergeant Bill doing the same in P13. Take It Easy starting 14th is on the medium compound tyre. Villeneuve in 15th is on the hards. And Insane Sparty will start from the very back in 16th position on the medium compound tyre. So you have 6 cars on the mediums, that means 10 on the hard tyres. Yeah, fair enough, Rebellion. Well, one of the benefits to starting on the hard tyre is the fact that you get an entire formation lap to get your tyres up to temperature. Whereas in the race, if you start on the mediums and move on to the hard tyre, you have to do a whole outlap on those hard tyres that are stone cold. It will take about a lap for them to get up to temperature. And during that lap, you're left incredibly vulnerable. One of the benefits to starting on the medium tyres, though, and this will come into play with Saucy in P2. If you're starting towards the front, you get a good start, you take the lead, you can try and pull away from everyone on the hard tyre. You can pull away from them, build up a gap, and give yourself that cushion for the pit window. And that way you can try and compensate later on in the race. And once those hard tyres are up to temperature as well, once they're up to temperature, the hards aren't too bad. It's that sort of warming up period where you're incredibly vulnerable. But once you get past that, the pace really does even out between the hards and the mediums. Especially later on in a stint. Just be waiting on the tail of the field with Villeneuve and Sparty. They'll line up into their respective grid slots. So Wombat starting on the outside, heading towards turn 1. He's on the cleaner side of the racetrack for the opening corner. But he's on the outside. Saucy has the inside line heading down towards turn 1. Can he use the better grip on those medium tyres to get by the pole sitter? Let's find out. We got 10 red lights. And we're underway here in Bahrain. It's a nice start from Rebellion in P4 for Alpine. He looks to the inside but can't commit to a move down towards turn 1. It'll be Wombat who leads towards turn 1 with Saucy in second, barging behind between Rebellion and KD. KD forced wide and he's vulnerable to John. John's had a terrific start. He's up to 5th. And here comes KD. Moves by Rebellion. John looking to the inside, heading towards turn 4. Dives it in. Tries to go for the move. And he's keeping it there in absolute fairness. It's now a side-by-side battle through 5 into 6. And Rebellion probably wisely backing out of that battle. You do not want to go side-by-side through the S's. Or just like that from Subflying. Ran wide at turn 7. Went on to the outside curb and spinning goes Sergeant Bill. No, the Harmesis, sorry. The Harmesis, his teammate, spins down to last. But that's the start Saucy was looking for. He's now in front of Wombat by half a second. That is exactly the start he was looking for. He needs to now try and pull away. But what a magnificent start from John. He's moved up 5 positions, I believe? 6, sorry. He started from 10th. And he's up to 4th. Absolutely terrific. Here comes Rebellion down the inside. He's now got drive out of the corner. Can he draw alongside the Haas? No, he can't. Doesn't quite have the same straight line speed as he heads down towards turn 14. There's Professor Phil just behind as well. We've got a bit of a battle brewing here for 4th position. So we head down the main straightaway. The leaders begin lap 2 of 29 here at Bahrain International Circuit. And Rebellion is all over the back of the Haas. He's now drawing alongside the Haas. He's looking down the inside of the Haas. Can he move in front of the Haas? Yes, he can just about, but Professor Phil running wide. Gives an opportunity for Youngling to get by, and he does. And same with Subflying. He draws alongside, looking around the long way. And I think he gets in front. It looks like he has. Yep, most certainly has. Professor Phil back down. Rebellion gets overtaken by John again. At turn 4, John moves back into 4th position. The Haas is looking racy. Into the hairpin at turn 8. Look at this train. 5 cars all in a train. Heading up the hill towards turns 9 and 10. 2.5 tenths separating these two as they head around turn 10. Getting a nice exit onto the back straightaway. You can see Rebellion in the slipstream. Well, not quite. It's sort of half in the slipstream. Heading down towards turn 11. Pulls it up nicely. There's Youngling, Subflying, Professor Phil, and John's teammate, Little Mick, he's on the back of the train. Oh, John, you have to be very careful. Running wide there at turn 12. That outside curve. It's not a nice outside curve at all. Around turn 14, around turn 15, back on to the main straightaway. Saucy still leading the way. He's got 7.5 tenths of a second to Mighty Wombat in P2. Here comes Rebellion down the inside at turn 1. John goes deep, too deep. Lets Rebellion through. Does the over-under though? Round the outside, contact and spinning goes Rebellion. Well, I'm afraid that was only inevitable through turn 2. It's really difficult to go through side by side there. Rebellion gets a short end of the stick and tumbles down to 14th position. Oh dear. You don't like seeing that as Rebellion gets by Villeneuve. He's made up a spot already. Yeah, you don't want to see that kind of stuff happen to anybody, but through that corner in particular, through turn 2, it's very tough. Got to give credit to John though to be able to pull that switch back off and get back alongside. I thought he overshot turn 1. He did not overshoot turn 1. He actually got around the corner quite well. Tried the over-under. Little Mick in trouble. The Haas is off the circuit at turn 10 and tumbles down to P11, P12 now, as Rebellion's now catching up to the back of the train. Sub for line, take it easy, battling into turn 11. Take it easy, wins the battle. Or maybe not. Poor exit out of turn 11, around the outside at turn 12. That takes commitment there. Takes a lot of respect from both drivers as well to not hit each other, because as soon as you do, yeah, the racing can turn real bad. As soon as you make even the slightest bit of contact. John still hanging on to 4th. I don't think he'll hang on to it for long though. Here comes Youngling. He'll draw alongside and look at the overspeed. It's ridiculous between the two cars. John tries sending it down the inside. Oh, makes contact and spins Youngling. And through goes Phil. He's through into 4th. Youngling won't be too impressed with that, I'm sure. John trying to send it down the inside there at turn 1. It didn't quite work. The two made contact. Sent Youngling around, or at least put him into a half spin. And then John making a mistake at turn 4. He's now vulnerable to Rocket Alamar through turn 5, into 6. Around turn 7, down the hill towards the hairpin at turn 8. Up the hill and around turns 9 and 10. Getting a nice exit out of turn 10 there for John. Rocket loses a little bit of ground. Not too much. Rebellion on the back of the train. This is going to be interesting to see how Rebellion makes his way up through the field here. It's bunched up, yellow's out. It's John! John has spun through turn 12 and he's behind Rebellion of all people. And now Rebellion's on the attack, drawing alongside Little Mick. Mick not fighting this one, it seems. Fair enough. He lets Rebellion through into P11. Oh, a bit too narrow there, and here comes Little Mick to counter. He's right on the back of the Alpine, but look at the straight line speed. Rebellion pulling away. Little Mick, he's close. He's got battery too. Big lift. You could hear that there. Huge lift into turn 1. Heading up the hill towards turn 4. Take it easy, closing in. Looks to the inside. Getting too far behind to try and make a move just yet. Sub for line on the back of Sergeant Bill. Bill's had a fairly tidy race so far, up 6 positions over the course of the 5 or 4 laps we've just had. Sub for line. Oh, getting a bit unsettled at the exit of turn 8. And Youngling, oh, Phil goes wide. Massive moment there for Phil. Was there contact? Ooh, saw a bit of lag there. Was there contact between Phil and Youngling? I don't know. The cars look okay, so I'm guessing Phil just lost it under braking. Ran wide and Youngling moves through into 4th. Back to this midfield pack, shall we? Got Rocket Alamar, Sergeant Bell and Sub for line. P6, 7 and 8. We also have this pack here led by Mr. Nars. There's Take It Easy. Fair distance behind. Or deep under brakes, too deep. Understeers past the apex at turn 14. He loses time to the Red Bull driver. Sergeant Bill not closing in, sub for line. Trying to follow the car in front. Try and maximise the slipstream. Into turn 1. Nice and easy through the opening corner. You have to be easy on the accelerator through turns 2 and 3. You have to tiptoe your way through that sector. You have to be so careful. Up towards turn 4. Hard on the brakes. Down to 4th gear through here. Nice aerial shot here. You can see the landscape of the circuit. You get a real idea of the closeness of the battling on circuit as well. See, these guys are not too far spread apart in this midfield pack. And I imagine that this pack is actually going to reform into one massive pack here. Being led by Rocket LMR. How about that? Down the back straightaway towards turn 11. There's Youngling, there's Professor Phil, there's Rocket LMR. And Rocket is almost within 1 second of Professor Phil. Might get another driver into this battle. Rebellion on the back of Take It Easy, heading around turn 13. Understeering wide goes Rebellion there. Oh, it gets a tidy run though through turn 13. He's trying to draw alongside Take It Easy. Take It Easy's all over it though. He's pulling away from the Alpine, heading into the penultimate corner. Now around the final kink and back onto the main straightaway. Understeering wide there, Rebellion. DRS open, not using any battery, doesn't have any battery to use. Here comes sub for line on Sergeant Bill. Can he shoot it around the outside? He's going to try, look around the long way here. Oh, a bit too wide though at turn 1 through turn 2 and heading up the hill and around turn 3. But this battle certainly isn't over just yet. Mick and Rebellion. Mick gets overtaken. No, sorry, Mick was attacking Rebellion. Rebellion was behind Take It Easy. The Alpine driver must have made a mistake. He's now 1.1 seconds behind, so he had to have made a mistake. Oh, tell you what, while those fellas are making their way through the middle of the track, we'll take a look at... Oh, Saucy just took out a braking board. He took out the 150. Well, rest in peace, 150 board. We will surely miss you. But it's Saucy who leads the way on the medium compound tyre as well. He's got 2 seconds over Mighty Wombat. That is a cushion. I don't think the cushion is big enough though. That needs to increase. That gap needs to increase. KD in a comfy P3. He is a fan of this racetrack. I've seen him do well here on multiple occasions, so he'd be looking to at least get a podium, I would think, here at Bahrain. Youngling, 7.2 seconds behind KD. Just minding his own business right now in 4th place. Doing what he needs to do. This is something I've seen Youngling do on a few occasions. He's quite a controlled driver and always gets himself towards the front of the field. He's very good at it. Might not be challenging for a win. He's always challenging for a top 5 though. Oh, and spinning goes sub for line. Oh dear. Spinning it round at the exit of turn 2. He drops down to 13th. Make that 14th position. Bit of a wiggle there. He needs to be careful. Those tyres will be red hot. So they'll provide a 0 grip. Down into turn 8. Down to 2nd gear goes Little Mick. The short shift, no, he uses 2nd gear on the exit. Rebellion P10. Round turn 9 and turn 10. Rebellion trying to catch up to Take It Easy. Something happened to Rebellion a couple laps ago, which pushed him back away from Take It Easy. Now trying to close that gap. Trying to battle the Ferrari driver. Gaps are starting to spread here at Bahrain International Circuit. Although the gap between the top 2 has shrunken a little bit, like literally a few thousandths of a second. But this battle between the top 3 cars may prove to be an interesting one in terms of strategy. Mercedes obviously have a pretty strong position here with 2 cars in the top 3. Saucy, of course, has track position. Saucy as well, if there's a well-timed safety car, let's say between now and, I don't know, lap 13, 14, it will put him into a decently strong position. He'll be able to go to the end of the race quite comfortably on hard compound tyres. Won't be the same story for these fellas behind on hards already. They'll have to move on to a set of mediums. Rocket Alamar in P6. Got a bit of a gap developing between himself and Bell. I'm sure he would love to pull away from the guys behind, try and attack Professor Phil. But Sergeant Bell and co, they're not leaving Rocket Alamar alone. I imagine... Oh, a bit of a slide there from Sergeant Bell. I imagine this train going to spread out quite massively when the pit window comes around. We do have a couple of drivers on mediums. We have Professor Phil and Take It Easy, who are both in this train on medium compound tyres. So they're going to get a bit scrambled when the pit window arrives. Wombat has closed in on the race leader. It seems those mediums are already starting to turn off. Lap 10 of 29 here in Bahrain. Down the main straightaway. Wombat loses a little bit of time. Literally a few hundredths. So Saucy has slightly better straight line speed. So perhaps... Oh, hello, yellow's out. It's a Harmisser spinning at turn 10. But it seems that Saucy might be running lower wings, giving him better straight line speed, but it's costing him here through the corners. Though looking at the interval, it's just magically jumped up by 0.6 of a second, so I'm guessing Wombat made a mistake. The gap's opened up again, and KD is just hovering behind in P3. He's chilling. He's doing what he needs to do. There is Youngling in P4, Professor Phil in P5. There's a train of cars behind. They're quite spread out now. None of them in any sort of real position to try and battle just yet. So we'll keep our eyes on the leaders. The gap's increasing between Saucy and Wombat, so maybe those medium tyres have not fallen off at all. Saucy's gotten a move on. Maybe Saucy's been dumping battery. Oh, look at the battery. He is using a bit. So maybe, just maybe, this might be an in-lap for Saucy. Maybe. Not sure. Oh, Sergeant Bill has spun at turn 11. Oh, and he's broken his front wing too. You can see the debris on the wall. Yeah, he's got a missing front wing on that car. Oh dear, oh dear. Well, fortunately, this hasn't brought out a safety car or a VSC. But he will have to pit and get that thing fixed. I'm sure Sergeant Bill would have loved a safety car, because now this is going to drop him back considerably. Well, Saucy hasn't pitted, so I guess that was just one hard push lap there. He did set the fastest lap of the race. He's increased the gap to 3.1 seconds, so he's gotten a move on. I guess he was just taking it easy for a bit. I'm not sure. Oh, as Sergeant Bill gives himself a speeding penalty. Oh dear, 5 seconds are now next to his name. Take it easy, Mr. Nars. There's Rebellion as well, so we've got a 3-car fight for 7th. Again, we're going to use this aerial shot. I wish the game used this aerial shot more. I absolutely love these angles because you can see so much. It gives you so much information. See where all the cars are. See how everyone's doing. Subfalime has spun out at turn 4 and drops behind Villeneuve. Yeah, I absolutely love those aerial shots. They show you so much. Rebellion's made a mistake again. He's now 1.2 seconds behind Take It Easy. Now got Little Mech on the back of him. Needs to keep his cool, Rebellion. Needs to not focus on the car behind either. As soon as you start focusing on the car behind you, just lose time to everyone around you. Need to keep your eyes forward. With both cars missing the apex there. That's 10:30. Oh, I can't laugh. I do that all the time. Oh, not the best of exits there for Phil. Yeah, look at the gap. It's shrunk by 2 tenths, 2.5 tenths, 3 tenths. Oh, here comes Rocket Alamar. His car is quite literally a rocket in a straight line. He could have went for a move there. Saw that last night in Pacific Tier 1, one of the best overtakes I've ever seen. It was given to us by GeForce Ford. Absolutely sending it out of nowhere. Down the inside at turn 1. Quite a cool move. Would have to be overtake of the week as well. If he puts a clip in for that, it'll be easily overtake of the week. It'll definitely beat my 2 overtakes from Suzuka that I put in. In case if you're wondering, I essentially did a Raikkonen at turn 1 and Alonso at 130R. Not quite to the same intensity, but essentially that's what they were. Rocket LMR closing in on Phil here. He's overtaking Phil. Phil can't do much about that. Phil has to accept P6. Oh, no he doesn't. That's a big moment there from Rocket LMR. Goes in too deep. Phil around the outside. Can he do it? Shooting him around the outside again. Oh my goodness. That's the second overtake around the outside at turn 12 during this race. Fantastic. Rocket LMR had to lift. If he didn't lift, he would have made contact with Phil. But that's a great send around the outside. I believe Subflying was the other driver who went around the outside earlier in the race, if memory serves me correctly. And into the pits goes Phil. Well, his tyres are donezo, it seems. Going to go in, chuck on the hard tyres and go to the end. Meanwhile, these guys a bit too far spread out to battle just yet. So, you have to wait a little while longer. Here's Saucy, then Mighty Wombat. There's KD. That's the top 3. They got 9.6 seconds over Youngling in P4. Be fascinating to see how strategy plays into this. Saucy will be getting close to that pit window to move on to the hard. Yellows are out. It's Mr. Nars who has spun at the exit of turn 7. Now, judging by where his car was, what I assume he did was use too much of the outside curb at turn 7. If you use too much curb on the outside of turn 7, the car can suddenly break loose on you, and you can spin to the left-hand side of the circuit. I've seen it happen a few times over my course as both a driver and as a commentator in league racing. Now, lap 14 of 29, Saucy still going. I imagine he'll be getting very, very close to his pit window, though. Yellow's out. It's the harm assist spinning at turn 4. No damage, though. No harm done. He's still running. On to the long straightaway towards turn 4. Saucy. 2.8 seconds is the gap between himself and Mighty Wombat. And take it easy pits to move on to onto the hard compound tyre, I should say. Onto the hard tyre. Getting off the mediums. Through turn 7. So yeah, you don't want to use too much curb on the outside of turn 7. It's there's sort of 2 rows of curbs, and if you go and use that second row of curbs, the car can just sort of magically break loose. The rear end can completely go and you spin. So you need to be very, very careful through turn 7. It's the same with several areas around this circuit. You do have to be careful. As Sergeant Bell sets his new fastest lap with a 31.1. He's on the soft compound tyre right now and he's flying out there. Around turn 12, that inside curb is the major hazard at turn 12. In games past, and this goes all the way back to F1 2019, that inside curb has been a death trap forever. You touch it, you spin. I don't think it's quite as bad in F1 22, but I'd still recommend that you don't touch it. It's just a generally really nasty curb. Race leader is in the pits. Well, yeah, there's tyre temps as well. He's managed tyre temperatures pretty well. So these hard tyres shouldn't be too much of an issue once he gets them up to temperature. It'll be that build-up. That build-up to get them nice and warm. That will be the really tricky bit. And that's where he's going to lose a fair chunk of time to Wombat and KD. Traffic might not help him here either. Here comes Rebellion and Mick. Oh, he's going to get in front of Rebellion. Goes wide at turn 1 though. And Rebellion looking. Contact. Ghosting. Yeah, that wasn't too good. Here comes Rebellion. And Saucy, he'd be a bit frustrated. A bit of a weave there going around the outside of turn 4. He's wide-ish. He gets around the corner. Yeah, Saucy, he won't be too pleased that now he has to deal with Rebellion. And he's low on fuel, mind you. I believe he's low on fuel, and I'll bring up the telemetry quickly. Yeah, he's low. So he's got minus 0.25 laps of fuel in the car. So he needs to try and save a little bit if he can. Nick will be getting frustrated as well. He's losing time to Rebellion. Rebellion's loving life. Gone by Saucy. And he's pulled away from Nick, which is the more important thing. Oh, Mick, too deep there, buddy. At turn 11, it's cost him time he can't afford to lose. Around turn 12, up towards turn 13. The two Mercs stay out for another lap. Their pit window is coming, though, for the medium compound tyre. Down towards turn 14, you can see the flashing red light on the back of the Rebellion's cars, so the Alpine's low on battery. Saucy should be able to close in. I've noticed he had slightly lower wings compared to Wombat, and it seems he's got lower wings compared to Rebellion. He's dumping the battery too to try and close in on the Alpine, so yeah, he's doing everything he can to try and close up. Around turn 2, up the hill and around turn 3. Yeah, tidy run through 3, no wheel spin, no snaps of oversteer or anything like that. John's into the pits as well. He pits onto a set of medium compound tyres. Meanwhile, leaders. 2 seconds separating the two Mercedes. As I said, they'll be getting close to their pit window. I'll be interested to see who gets pit priority. I know Wombat and KD will be talking to each other. KD has told me on several occasions that those two have their own parties, so they will be discussing strategy. It'll be interesting to see who wants to do what. Does someone want to pit earlier to try and move on to the mediums, cover off Saucy potentially, or do they both want to run long on these hard tyres? I suppose only time will tell. Wombat staying out for another lap. KD staying out for another lap, so they're going to keep going here. They're not ready to pit just yet. Rebellion will have company soon. The Aston Martin is closing into turns 14 and 15 and back onto the main straightaway. There goes Rebellion into pit lane, so Saucy has got a clear track in front for at least 3 seconds, to Rocket LMR. Undercut is huge here. Yeah, that may be true, but we do have a bit of a mix-up in terms of strategy, Saint. And that might shake things up, because Saucy here had to pit onto hard tyres. And I looked at his temperatures on his MFD. The highest temperature he had on those tyres was 92 degrees on the front left. And he was on mediums. So he wasn't running mid-90s, he was running low 90s. Which suggests to me he's running really, really low pressures. So Saucy would have had to take a fair amount of time to try and get these tyres up to temperature. Not to mention he had to scrap Rebellion as well for position, which would have cost him extra time. So I don't think the undercut will work for Saucy. I reckon he might lose the lead to the mighty Wombat. Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. Wombat's coming in though. KD will go long. So pit priority was given to the leader. Then move on to a set of mediums. Keep an eye on the dark green dot on the mini-map. That is Saucy making his way into the final corner. It's a long pit lane, especially if you're in a Mercedes-Benz. Saucy's coming. Maybe he will get out in front, actually. Yeah, he will. So the gap was about 2 seconds. What's the gap now? 3.4. Nope. Now it's readjusting itself. 1.6. 1.9. 2 seconds. So, and that gap's going to increase as well. Right. That battling did not cost Saucy as much time as I thought. And that whole tyre temperature thing, that didn't cost him either. That was just the undercut. The undercut worked. Oh, I reckon Mercedes might be kicking themselves though. Now granted, Wombat's now on the medium compound tyre. He'll be able to attack to try and close in on Saucy. But Saucy's got track position right now, and he's got tyres that could get to the end. He'll do everything he can to try and hang on to the position he's got. So that will mean when KD pits, he's going to lose time to both Saucy and Wombat unless he just keeps going. I really don't know what he's going to do. Hello, Bags. Nice to see you in the chat. Alright, KD, what are you going to do? You're going to come in and pit. Alright. So we should lose time here to Saucy and Wombat. Let's see. So the two dots to keep an eye out for. They're heading towards the final two corners on the racetrack. The dark green dot of Saucy and the light green dot, the teal green of Mighty Wombat. Here comes Saucy. He will get by. Moves himself into the race lead. Mighty Wombat coming through. He'll pass his teammate. Into the pits goes Mr. Nars as well. Yeah, running long hasn't given the benefits that I certainly thought it was going to give. Alright. Saucy's made it work. Credit to him. Mr. Nars losing a ton of positions in pit lane. He'll make his way out shortly. Little Mech applying pressure to Professor Phil. Rebellion trying to close in on Rocket Alamar. And Mighty Wombat trying to close in on Saucy. And he will close in. At least for a few laps. Those medium tyres will give off better performance. He should close in. Down the back straightaway towards turn 11. The gap 2.7 seconds. Looking at the rest of the gaps, the closest battle we got on track is between Sergeant Bell and Take It Easy. Though for Sergeant Bell, he's going through the middle sector. Overtaking opportunities are very much limited through the middle sector. And besides, Bell will be pitting soon anyway to get off those soft tyres and, I don't know, maybe onto another set of softs, I guess, and go to the end of the race. 2.5 seconds is now the gap. Wombat is closing in. Needs to keep his head down. Now 2.2 seconds. KD in third position, minding his business. Rebellion closing in on Rocket Alamar. We're going to have a battle on for fifth. Out of the final corner and down the main straightaway. Here we go. DRS open on Rebellion's car. Excuse me. Alamar moves to the right-hand side of the circuit, breaking the slipstream. Here comes Little Mick as well on Professor Phil. And through goes Mick. Well, not quite. Phil trying to find around the long way. He's got a nose there. Oh, Mick saw him coming. Good driving there. Oh, and good driving there as well. No contact between the two cars. Phil gets in front. Mick has the inside line. Oh, Phil runs wide at turn 4. Lets Mick back through. Yellow's out. It's Sergeant Bill. Spinning at turn 3. He's just spun on the curb, no puncture or anything like that. I was checking for a puncture because he's on 9-lap-old softs. They're fairly old. Rebellion closing in here. Down this back straightaway towards turn 11. Rocket Alamar's got some decent straight line speed in that Red Bull. Rebellion is not able to close in by much down the long straights, even with DRS. 1.9 seconds is now the gap between the top two. Saucy's doing a great job maintaining the lead. It's not let Wombat close in by a great deal. It's only been by a few tenths here and there. Youngling since the new fastest lap, 1 minute 30.6 is the time he set. Rebellion closing in. No, he's not. Look at that interval. It's not changing by much. And Rebellion has DRS. So, Rocket Alamar's got some really decent straight line speed. Mr. Nars to the inside here at turn 1. Can't fully commit to the move. He'll stay behind in P10 as Sergeant Bill pits in. For more than likely a new set of soft compound tyres. There's your leaders. Saucy, Mighty Wombat. Separated by 1.5 seconds. Making their way up the hill around turn 11 and around turn 12. The gap shrinks some more as they head into turn 13. Down the long straightaway now towards the final two corners. Both drivers doing everything they can right now. We'll bring up telemetry, see how they're doing. 14% battery on Wombat's car, 19% on Saucy's car, but you can see on the telemetry, on the bottom of your screen, the red fuel icon on Saucy's car, and he's losing fuel. He has not saved any fuel. He is minus 0.31 under. He needs to start lifting and coasting as soon as possible, because he is running out of fuel. And we're running out of laps for a safety car to try and save him too. Not that it's impossible to have a safety car this late. Yeah, absolutely, Bags. This will get interesting between the top two, because we got a few factors to try and consider. We got a tyre difference between Saucy and Wombat. Both drivers have demonstrated pace, and Saucy, he has a fuel problem. Wombat, what about him? He's just over. If I turn the telemetry off, you might be able to see it. Plus 0.13 extra. So Wombat is essentially running even in terms of fuel. Just a little over even. So he's got a bit of a fuel issue to worry about as well. He can't go guns a-blazing. He needs to make sure he keeps an eye on the fuel. KD, he's good. He's 0.3 over. Or Youngling's running even. Looking at that, it's so difficult to see on the Williams, but it's 0.003 over. So he's running very close to even. It looks like 0.93 for Rocket LMR. 0.51 for Rebellion. So he's got a bit of extra fuel. 0.6 for Mick. 0.5 for Phil. Or minus 0.2 for John. He's running low. 1.5 laps extra for Mr. Nars. He's got all of the fuel. 1.5 as well for Take It Easy. I think that's plus 0.96 for Subfoline. Oh, Villeneuve's under as Mr. Nars gets by John. John probably having to do a lot of lifting and coasting. The Harmesis spins out at the exit of turn 7. To get pointed back in the right direction and get going again. Meanwhile, top two are separated by 5.5 tenths of a second. Wombat is closing, and he has DRS assistance now. It's game on between the top two as John gets by Mr. Nars, who has spun at turn 6, entering turn 7. It's pointed back in the right direction, but he falls down to 11th place. 6 tenths separating the top two. KD minding his own business in third. DRS open on the Mercedes. Down the main straightaway towards turn 1. We've got 6 laps to go here at Bahrain International Circuit. Wombat not close enough to attack here. Just lingering behind Saucy's Aston Martin. Rocket LMR's got pressure. Rebellion behind, but Rocket knows his car is a rocket ship down the straights. Rebellion is unable to close in. Look, even with DRS assistance, he closes in by nothing. Oh, overshoots turn 1 as well. That's going to cost him time. Yeah, look at the gap. 8 tenths, 8.5 tenths. All by one little mistake. Just missing your braking point by a couple of meters. Absolutely ruin your momentum. Down the back straight away towards turn 11. Chucking it into the left-hander at turn 11. Up the hill towards turn 12. Up through the gears. Around turn 12 into turn 13. What can Wombat do in this situation? What does he want to do? Does he want to wait for the last possible moment to try and attack, or will he go for it as soon as he can? KD, 4.2 seconds behind. I think he has closed in a little bit. Not by a lot, but he has closed in. Wombat, not close enough to attack here at turn 1. Not quite close enough. Rebellion, he's gained so much time through the mid part of the lap. He just can't do anything in the first sector. He just doesn't have the straight line speed to battle Rocket LMR. Back to the leaders. 4 tenths. 4 tenths of a second separating the top two. Out of turn 8. Heading up and over the hill into turns 9 and 10. Around the left-hander. DRS open. See Wombat not bothering to use any battery. This is just the natural power of DRS. And around turn 11. Up the hill towards turn 12. 2.5 tenths separating the top two. 3 tenths now as they go around turn 13. See that low fuel icon still on Saucy's car. He's going to have fuel problems on the final lap if he doesn't do something. Around the final 2 corners. Back onto the main straight. He's using his battery. Does he know he has a fuel problem? He's keeping Wombat at bay. Looks to the inside but will not commit to the move. Wombat just keeping the pressure up. Saucy in a bit of an iffy situation with fuel. KD minding his own business in third. Out of turn 4. Into the middle sector now, turns 5, 6. Left-hander at 7. Down the hill into the tricky braking zone of turn 8. Third gear. Back on the accelerator nice and gently. Not bothering to use any of the outside curb. Around turn 9. Braking gently around turn 10. Nice and easy there. Not the best of exits. Saucy got a slightly better one. Wombat pulls out of the slipstream. He's not close enough to attack though. Out of turn 11 now. Heading up the hill and around turn 12. Wombat is close. He's got battery to play with too. Can't say the same for Saucy. He's got 2.8 laps of fuel left in the car. When they cross the line, there'll be 3 laps to go. Now 2.7. Here comes Wombat. And there's not going to be much that Saucy can do about this. Wombat will take the race lead here in Bahrain. Saucy tries to fight down the inside, but to no avail. We have a new race leader with 3 laps to go. Down the long straightaway towards turn 4. Saucy with no battery left. He's low on fuel. He might lose a second place if he's not careful. As KD's there, it could be a Mercedes 1-2. Rebellion working incredibly hard to try and find a way by the Red Bull. But LMR's driving well. He's got battery in reserve. Rebellion's got speed through the corners, but he can't fully utilize it. He cannot find a way by the Red Bull. He's been stuck there forever. No, not quite, Bags Liddell. He's low on fuel. He really needs to save now. Take it easy. He looked. He didn't fully commit to the move though. John will stay in P9. But he's got a fuel problem as well. He's got a better fuel problem compared to Saucy. Onto the main straight. He's still got DRS. He's using whatever battery he's got. 8 tenths of a second is the gap. 2 laps to go. Down towards turn 1. Big lift. You could hear it there. Huge lift into 1. KD's closing in and he's got fuel to spare. He's good. He is 0.28 over. That should be enough for 2 laps. Rebellion. DRS Open buried in the slipstream. He cannot close in on the rocket ship. That's in 5th place. Take it easy. Applying pressure here to the hearts of John. Makes his way onto the main straight. John's got battery to play with. Take it easy. He's got a little bit himself, but he's not using any of it just yet. He's gaining. Looks to the inside. Doesn't fully commit on the brakes. John leaves him enough room though. That's good driving from both of the competitors. And Mr. Nars is just behind as well. We might have a 3-car fight for 9th position. Down into turn 4. Take it easy. Looks again. Oh, and again John leaves room. Great sportsmanship from both drivers. They're being competitive, but room is being given. It's always nice to see. The gap has shrunk now to 2.9 seconds between Saucy and KD as they head on to the main straightaway. The leader, Mighty Wombat, begins the final lap. Lap 29 of 29 here at the Bahrain International Circuit. Saucy is low. You can see the flashing red icon now. He's in trouble. KD is not in trouble. He's got fuel. Just enough fuel. Rebellion. Can he go for it here at turn 1? He's got enough momentum. He goes around the outside here at turn 1. Can he do the over-under? He's trying it. Oh, but he loses a car. That's it. It's done. He cannot challenge for 5th. That was his only opportunity. And he threw it away with a bit too much eagerness on the accelerator. Mr. Nars also spins out. That will ruin his shot at fighting for 9th position. He might lose places here. Subhalheim, he's catching up. So is Villeneuve. Take it easy on the back of John. Can't find a way by through 2 and 3. Maybe, just maybe, he can find a way by at turn 4. He's gaining. Looks to the inside. Sends it in. Room is given. John is wide. Take it easy. He's got drive, but so does the Haas. John will keep position. He stays in 9th. Meanwhile, the race leader, Mighty Wombat, will make his way around the final 2 corners. Saucy is out of fuel. It'll be Mighty Wombat who wins the Bahrain Grand Prix. Who will finish in 2nd? It'll be KD 1997. It's a 1-2 finish for Mercedes. Saucy will finish in 3rd. Running out of fuel 2 corners before the finish. Youngling will finish in a very fine P4. It'll be Rocket Alamar who hangs on to 5th. What a drive, what a car. Such great straight line speed in that Red Bull. And he hangs on to 5th. Rebellion did all he could, but 6th is the best he could manage. Little Mick, P7, followed by Professor Phil. There'll be John C and Take It Easy. As John, he's going to run out of fuel, one would think. He's getting close to it. Here comes Take It Easy. Will John make it to the line? DRS open. Oh, he's run out of fuel now. Oh, he hangs on. Only just hangs on to 9th. Mr. Nars will finish in P11, followed by Subhalheim and Villeneuve. And we'll be waiting for Sparty and Sergeant Bill, our final 2-point scorers in this Bahrain Grand Prix. Down the main straight away we go. Sparty P14, Sergeant Bill P15. And that will wrap up the race. An interesting one. Not a single safety car at any point. Everyone finished as well. All 16 drivers who entered finished. It was always a good thing. It is your race winner, Mighty Wombat, who recently took the lead of the Drivers' Championship, is going to extend it after this race in Bahrain. He wins the event, with KD coming home in 2nd and Saucy in 3rd place after running out of fuel on the final lap. So, the unofficial results of the Bahrain Grand Prix. The Silver Arrows have the perfect race. A 1-2 finish for Mercedes-AMG, with Mighty Wombat winning the Grand Prix and KD coming home in second. Saucy completing the podium places for Aston Martin in third. P4 goes to Youngling with fastest laps. He'll snag that extra point. Rocket LMR finishes in a superb fifth, with Rebellion recovering to P6. Little Mick P7, followed by Professor Phil in 8th, John C in 9th, and Take It Easy rounds out the 10. Outside of the 10 we have Mr. Nas P11, followed by Sub for Lyman 12th, Villeneuve 13th, and Insane Sparty. Sergeant Bill will complete the point scoring places in 15th. Our final finish of the Harnesses, the 16th position, 1 lap down, means that every single driver who started this race ended up finishing it. Certainly an interesting Grand Prix. We had battles up and down, and quite the interesting finale. It came down to the dying laps of the race, and Mercedes take a 1-2. So with the points haul that the Silver Arrows get, they're going to extend their lead in the Constructors' Championship quite healthily. They are definitely the force to be reckoned with in the Constructors. They're going to be tough cookies to beat, I'm sure. What a fine drive. Disappointing for Saucy to run out of fuel right at the end of the race. It well and truly cost him there. It was looking like a guaranteed P2 until the fuel situation really became bad. But it was really all on him. From what I could gather over the course of that race, he didn't do much to try and save fuel. And ultimately, that cost him. Obviously, if there was a safety car or a VSC, that would have helped him out tremendously. But we didn't have either during this race, and you need to be on top of your game, especially when there aren't any safety cars around to try and help you out. You need to be on top of your fuel, you need to be on top of your tyres. Because if you're not, well, that can happen. You can run out of fuel at the end of the race and end up crossing the line in third instead of second. Still a fine drive to finish on the podium. Top 3 were well and truly clear of everybody else. A final congratulations as well to our top 2, Mighty Wombat and KD. A fine drive for Mercedes-Benz. But I think, folks, with everything said and done, it's time for us to wrap it up for this stream. Certainly a decent one. Seen better races here at Bahrain, but this wasn't too bad, considering there weren't any safety cars to try and spice things up. But I've been Lane Everingham. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next week for round 7 of the championship at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for the Canadian Grand Prix. That's going to be a chaos fest, I'm sure. Going to see lots and lots of time penalties, lots of invalidated laps through qualifying, and maybe a rain shower or two. Montreal is quite famous for those rain showers during Grand Prix weekends. So maybe next week will prove to be quite the interesting one to watch. But until then, it's goodbye.